Hey y'all, welcome back. If you've been watching the channel for a little bit, you know I really love photographing things in Florida. I live here and find an absolute fascination with the small towns and nature just everywhere here in this state. However, from time to time, I like to go on a sort of expedition, as you could say, and visit new places, see new things, go to different states. My friend Brian had actually watched some of my videos and invited me up to visit him and go on a photo drive together. Brian lives in Brunswick, Georgia, which is coastal Georgia and actually where I grew up. After a little back and forth, we decided we wanted to visit some of the small little towns north of Brunswick. So early one Sunday morning, I grabbed my Canon AE1 and a roll of Flic Film's Aurora 800, which is a film I never used before, so I thought it'd be a good trip to try it out. Brunswick is about a 2.5 hour trip from Gainesville, which is really not too bad of a drive normally, but especially early on a Sunday morning with no traffic and a beautiful, beautiful sunrise. So we're about to hit the road. Just getting some gas right now. I am currently on my way up to Brunswick this morning. Sunrise is basically happening now. It's very pretty out. I haven't been up for the sunrise in a little while. My friend Brian invited me up. You know, Brunswick's my hometown. Brunswick, Georgia is my hometown. And Brian's an old friend of mine from high school. We've been, recently he's been getting into photography, mostly digital, but like still very cool. He does some good stuff. So he wanted to shoot some photos with me. He's been seeing these YouTube videos and wanted to shoot. So I thought, well, you know, I could go up, do this, see my mom, nothing wrong with that. And not to mention, on a recent trip down to Tampa, I stopped by Coastal Film Lab and picked up some film, including a new to me film, Aurora 800. Yeah, I'm excited to try it, and let's see where the day takes us. I also brought some backup rolls just in case it either fucks up or I fuck up. Or run out because Brunswick's so pretty, I don't know. The drive into the area hits me pretty hard in my nostalgia, as it has this really, really beautiful golden marsh all over the place, which is actually gave it its nicknames of the Golden Isles. It's very, very beautiful, especially because I hadn't visited in a couple months. I was so excited to actually get to Brian's and see him as it had been a while that I forgot to get any actual footage of our first meetup for the day. But after a little bit of catching up, we decided to hit the road and head up to Townsend, Georgia and visit the littlest church in America. What this film I just used, so this is I've never used it before.
What is
so
that?
This is Aurora 800.
Really?
Yeah, so I've never used it before.
Right, so I'm
gonna try it out because I mean I have other films with me, but I was like, I like trying out new stuff.
Right,
so.
yeah, that's kind of the...
This place was actually built in the 1940s, and the original structure stood until like 2015 when some suspected arsonist burned it down. It did, however, get rebuilt and still stands here now, and is open 24 hours a day for any travelers to seek a little shelter. While not a great photo, I thought the irony of a Jesus statue with a warning security cameras in use sign next to it was too good to pass up. This is cool. This is very cool. This is why I'm thankful for a wide angle, because I'll be able to get a picture in here. I was very happy to have an 800 speed film for this exact reason. It was relatively dark inside, and without it, I would not have been able to take these two photos.
That's the other thing is remembering to lock my elbows. If something is crazy.
The stained glass in here was very beautiful and apparently imported from England.
Hang out. I can't get up there, so. This.
And this is honestly my favorite photo I took of this church area. I really like the tunnel of green going off into the distance. You know, I don't love any of the photos I took here of the church, but typically the first couple photos in a day are kind of the warm-up photos, so we'll put the blame there. After we left the church, it was just about lunchtime, so we stopped at this place in Yolonia, Georgia called Altman's. Altman's is a place I hadn't been to in 20 years, but was still just as good as I remembered. I don't take a ton of indoor everyday life photos, but I think with this film I might be able to pull them off. I really like this one. It's sort of the calm of the storm before the after church lunch crowd comes and destroys this buffet. From there, we didn't really have any plans. We knew we wanted to end the day eventually in Darien, but there's a ton of small towns along the way that we could stop at, so we just decided to hit the road and see what we found. I was looking and looking for a composition I liked here, and this was absolutely it. I just love having the sign point directly at that post office in the background. Right next door was actually a sort of abandoned looking car wash thing, so we definitely needed to go explore that. Oh yeah. That's cool. Why is it not in good service now? Is it just not busy enough out here? Which I assume, but you never know. I really like this shot of this Crescent Cafe. I think this is where Aurora has really worked for me. The colors here are really beautiful and is nice and vibrant without being too contrasty. We then got back on the road and eventually found ourselves at the ferry dock, or Sapelo Island. Sapelo is one of the large barrier islands that make up most of the coast of Georgia, and the only way on and off is ferry. It isn't a super populated island, so this ferry area was relatively simple but absolutely beautiful, so we explored all around it. One of my favorites from the day. This film does have an interesting color cast to it, but I like it. It almost makes it look like golden hour, even though I took this probably at like 1 in the afternoon. Another favorite. I like the symmetry down the middle of the photo. Combined with the colors, the symmetry just absolutely makes the photo. We then walked over to what seemed to be like a sort of Sapelo Island welcome center. It was right next to maybe like an abandoned garage looking thing as well. Bunch of interesting stuff, all with unique photo opportunities. I wish that car wasn't here. But yeah, I wanted to like straight on, but let's see. Then there was this crazy military truck thing that was parked here that we needed to check out. After that, we headed back out, and as we were going, I saw another small little post office, and I grabbed the wheel and forced us to do like a Fast and Furious style turnaround. Well, maybe not like that exactly. And this road eventually brought us back to Darien. When I was young, I moved around a lot in this area, and Darien is actually one of the small towns that I ended up living in for a couple of years. As an adult, I like to come back and look around and see what's changed, usually not too much, but this time a few things had. They actually built this weird like resort-style hotel right on the banks of the river. It's very odd. It's such a small town, I don't know who would want that, but something for everyone, I guess. When I was living here as a kid, Darien was so small we didn't even have a mailbox. We had to go to the post office to get our mail. So I grew up going to this post office, and I was really glad to see it hadn't changed very much. Honestly, this post office might be why now, as an adult, I have such an obsession with these sort of mid-century looking buildings. I love them. And right across the street is a quintessential small town church, perfectly bathed in that afternoon light. We then headed towards one of our other planned stops on the trip, Fort King George State Park. When I lived here, we actually lived just 2 houses down from the park. This house, actually. So me and my shithead kid friends would constantly climb the fence and break into the park and just fuck around. We never did anything destructive, more just playing around the fort and pretending to have shootouts and stuff like that. So it's always a really fun time for me coming back here. At the time of its construction, Fort King George was actually the southernmost point of the English Empire, existing before Georgia was even officially a colony. The fort was actually built in 1721, but was only abandoned 6 years later or something. Basically, everyone died. Not due to any conflicts or anything like that, just malaria was run rampant. It wasn't the best place for a fort. They actually discovered several years later St. Simon's Island a little bit further south and built another fort there, Fort Frederica. That was a much better place for a fort. But when the British came in and officially made Georgia a colony, they ended up building the city of Darien near this established fort because there were already sort of like roads, some established infrastructure that they could build on. All that to say, while this place looms large in my mind because I grew up here, it really is just a blip on even Georgia's history. Yeah, I know.
This thing's already heavy enough, and it's just a piece of...
Another favorite of the day. It almost looks like here we're truly looking back in time at this old mill cottage. It's just perfectly surrounded by all the marsh and trees. I think it's an awesome composition, and the lighting is just great.
Oh, we can go in. Oh, yeah.
I love that they have to make caveats to modern safety, like they have to have a fire extinguisher.
Yeah.
They built like a wooden box to put it in.
Yeah, it's the ye old fire extinguisher.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, this one is just...
Okay,
that one's just on the...
The super authentic fruiting.
Alligators at.
Alligators are wild, do not touch. What if they were domesticated?
And this is the shot I actually had in mind coming here. I had pretty vivid memories of seeing the blockhouse of the fort down a straightaway. Really wanted to capture that, and I think that this film is really delivering now that the sunshine is out. It's just absolutely sending me with these beautiful, vivid colors.
can actually literally do that.
I know. It says it over there. It doesn't count over here.
Oh, the old plywood. That's it. I'm going back to my.
Here's your holes. This is probably the most unique photo I took here at the fort. Peering out through one of the gun holes, it really gives you a sense of what these soldiers saw in their everyday lives. This way. I don't know, but I gotta get a photo. That's very spooky with the chair. This is probably my favorite photo of the whole trip. There was a guy who came into the fort just after us, and I was just waiting for him to get close to the window to snag a photo like this. The lighting is super dramatic in here, and all the cross beams and pillars and wooden planks cutting through makes it a super, super dramatic, very cool photo.
Yeah.
Quick funny story about that guy tying his boat up. So me and Brian actually came down to this dock just to check out the water and look at all the stuff. And this guy comes puttering up in his boat, gets out, ties it up, and we're making a couple jokes at him like, oh, this seems like a really elaborate way to avoid the entrance of the park fees. And he laughed. And then as he starts tying off his boat, he sort of whips the rope, just kind of to straighten it out, but it comes, I'm not even kidding, this close to my eye. I felt the wind. I am just so grateful I still have an eye after that. After exploring the main part of the park, we then went down on this sort of nature trail to the side that led to an overlook of sorts where we got to relax a little bit and just enjoy being out in the nature. Yep. It literally went what? We then headed out from the park, but we had one more stop before we wanted to call it the end of the day. On the highway between Brunswick and Darien, there once stood a house, really beautiful mansion on the side of the road, basically a little landmark for everyone to use called the Huston House. It was actually constructed in the late 1920s by a man named Colonel Huston, who was a then co-owner of the New York Yankees. The island it's actually located on, Butler Island, was originally a rice plantation that dated all the way back to the 1700s, but Colonel Huston decided to turn it into a dairy farm. His house long survived his ownership of the island. It's actually now owned by the Georgia Department of Natural Resources. The tower and house here were a familiar sight to me as I grew up in the area, and unfortunately not long before my trip up here, I learned that the house had actually burned down. It's a real shame, but me and Brian decided that we wanted to go try and take some photographs of the rubble and explore around and just see what was left. Around this point, I'd actually run out of Aurora 800, so I switched to one of my backup rolls of Kodak Gold 200.
It's funny, I remember this new bridge getting built. I remember this old bridge, driving on the old bridge. It's funny.
These couple photos I took at the site were all underexposed in their own ways, but I like this one regardless. It almost has a faded postcard look to it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you get out here and really all that electricity.
Ending the trip here in this pile of rubble, as you can see, was a really unique experience. The news actually reported that a homeless man had been staying inside, and he's the one who accidentally set fire to the house. It wasn't on purpose, it wasn't arson, but either way, it's gone, and all we have left is the tower now. And ultimately, it's very sad to lose the house, of course, but it's a lesson that I've learned many, many, many times. You gotta appreciate what you have while you have it. You never know when one day it might not be there anymore. But to not end this video on a super somber note, I really did enjoy my trip up here to coastal small town Georgia. I got to hang out with an old friend, we got to explore a ton of cool places, and I even got to try out a new to me film roll. What a fantastic day. But as always, thank you for supporting the channel. Thank you for supporting my photography adventures. And let me know in the comments below if you've ever visited coastal Georgia and what your favorite things to do and see there were. And if you enjoyed the video and you like the content that I'm producing, don't forget to subscribe. It really does help the channel grow, and I would love for more people to see it just like you have. But anyways, as always, I'll see y'all next time.